Alrighty, good morning and welcome to Coffee and Questions. Today we're talking all about gels. But before we get started, just a couple of things that I wanted to talk about is that Busso is only 20 weeks away, or it's less than that now. So if you're doing Busso Ironman, now is the time to start to try and get some help with your nutrition. Every Ironman, I get people come in and see me or try and come and see me just a couple of weeks before the race. And it's too late. It really is too late. Like if you're doing an Ironman, there are plenty of boxes that you need to tick before you head into race day. And you need to start doing that early. So just like you might have a, say, 20-week Ironman build roughly, you want to kind of build your nutrition through that as well. So yeah, if you're doing Busso, this is just your reminder that now is the time to seek help. If you contact me, like say 2 weeks before the race or even 4 weeks before the race, then chances are I'm going to say, no, I can't help you. It's too late. So if you're doing Busso, yeah, but this is your kick in the butt to organize some assistance. So I just wanted to say that up front before I forget. And the other thing that I had to tell you was that kit order is going in, well, what day is it? Thursday. It's pretty much going in this week / over the weekend. So this is your last opportunity to get dietitian approved cycling kit too, if you want one. I'm never doing it again. I am not an apparel ordering type human. I hate the logistics. It is just a shit fight. So I'm a dietitian. I'm not a clothes manufacturer person. So yeah, this is the last time you can get dietitian approved cycling kit ever. It is proper limited edition. And what do you want to know? So if you don't know anything about it, it is Castelli. It's top of the range Castelli custom teamwear. It's basically what Team Ineos are wearing, previously Team Sky. So it's, yeah, top of the range, really good quality. It's aerodynamic, like the sleeve length is a bit longer, and they've tested it in wind tunnels and stuff to make it nice and aero through the shoulders. And for me, the biggest reason why I went with Castelli is that the knicks are super comfy. Like they're the comfiest knicks I've ever worn. The chamois is really well designed. It doesn't have any seams around the inside. You know how sometimes you get chamois with seams or stitching that rubs your butt? It doesn't do that. The chamois stays put as well. I've had chamois that twist. I'm not going to mention any brands, but I've had, chamois that twist over time, and they're really annoying as well. So it's really good quality chamois. Like you can do long over 100K rides and still have a comfy tush. So protect those bits and invest in proper chamois. So yeah, it's cost price. It's like a $600 kit. And as long as they don't change the pricing on me, it's only $280. And, you know, I don't make any money on it. It's not about that. It's just getting like people sick gear. So yeah, hit me up if you want one. This is your last chance ever to get like a $600 kit for $280 cost price. So yeah, not making any money on it. All right, welcome everyone on Insta. How are you doing this morning? I missed all these people that popped on. We've got Ara Jane reading, good morning, and then Rye, and then Penny's here. Holly, hi. Hi, Penny. King Kev, the bariatric dietitian. M. Kate. Lauren's here. Berkey's here. Carla Ray. Berkey said, hey, I made it. Took a sickie for this. Did you really? Hopefully you didn't take a sickie to catch Coffee and Questions this morning, Berkey. You can always catch the replay on IGTV, or if you're in my email list, I send out the link to watch the replay too. Beck Berglund's here. Get Mentally Fit is here. Laura Von's here. And Penny said, just a faster way for me to let everyone know I'm your problem. Wearing a DA cycle kit, collector's item now. It is definitely a collector's item. It was always meant to be a collector's item, but I've probably maybe done 3 orders. But it's definitely limited edition. There's less than 100. There's probably less than 50 kicking around the place. So yeah, it's definitely limited edition. This latest design is super clean and super slick. I've taken a lot of the extra sort of writing and stuff on it. So it's just super, modern. It's beautiful. I've got a picture up on my wall, but you probably can't see it. And yeah, nice and black and slimming, but it's not hot. So yeah, it's perfect. All right, and then we've got hands-on mobile massage. Hello. Tracy Rides is here. Emily's here. Sorry, get mentally fit. I mean Emily. And then Becky said, no, wife more essential than me. So I'm school teacher today. Lucky you. All right, so there were the two things I wanted to talk about just to get started today. So number one was kits. If you want one, this is literally your last chance. And the other one was busso. If you're doing busso, then you want to start thinking about your nutrition now, not in a couple of months' time. Like now is when you start building your nutrition into that. And then you'll have more success on race day as well. All right, there's doesn't look like there's anyone on Facebook this morning. If you are on Facebook, Facebook's a bit delayed for me. If you are here, just say hi so I know you're here. All right, Julie Dundon, what are you doing online? And Andrea is here. All right, gels. We're going to talk about these bad boys. I've grabbed a whole heap of gels from my collection at the office, and we can talk through any questions you have on gels. So I've got a few already to get us started, but if you've got anything you want to know, just pop it in the comment section and I'll answer it as we go. Let's try and have a bit of a discussion to hear. Hopefully my voice hangs out. I still am completely blocked. So I probably sound like a nasal spazzo, but that's all right. All right, so when it comes to gels, they're beautiful, aren't they? Like they just look so delicious. Kind of like apps. They're designed to just want to make you eat them. Well, there's lots that we can talk about. And I guess to start with, like I asked everyone yesterday what brand they use, and there was a huge range of responses. So there was some people that had Cis, which is this one. A lot of people have Performance, High Five, Morton. Quite a lot of people are using Morton at the moment because they're the course nutrition for the Ironman events at the moment. They've got the bid for the like sponsorship or whatever you want to call it for offering on-course nutrition this year. But I should really turn my notifications off. How do I do that? Oops. Do not disturb. There we go. Okay, I'm back. Hey, Beck. Good morning. So I guess gels aren't created equally. They're all a little bit different, and the range of carbohydrate they contain ranges anywhere from the SIS gel, which is 19 grams of carbs, all the way up to Ironman and Performance. They've got 30 grams of carbs, and then there's some Spring Energy gels that have got around 45 grams of carbohydrate in them. And what you use, I guess, really comes down to personal preference. Depends on what it tastes like, and what you're comfortable using, and what doesn't give you any gut symptoms. Gels need to form part of your overall plan too. So a lot of people, when I ask them what they want to know about gels, said, why do they give me gut upset? And there could be a number of reasons why this happens. Number one, it could be just the way that you're taking them. They are really concentrated little suckers. So at 30 grams of carbs in 47 grams, and this one's 45 grams. So that's a very high osmolarity, so a really high concentration. And so if you're having something like this, that's 30 grams of carbs without any water to flush it down, then you're likely to get gut upset, particularly when you're running. So it could be just the way that you're consuming them that's causing that gastrointestinal disturbance, if we want a technical term. And yeah, so a lot of people kind of get diarrhea or like bloated, or some people even vomit with gels. But yeah, they are definitely a concentrated little morsel of fuel. So make sure that when you are having them, you are diluting them down with a good cup of water. So 200 to 300 mils of water is needed to dilute the concentration of this down in your stomach. So if you think of, say, sports drink, you put a scoop in, and a scoop is maybe 20 grams of carbs up to around 30 grams of carbs. And then you mix that in a good sort of 500-600 mils of water. So you need to kind of think of that with gels as well, that you are diluting them down so that they're not super concentrated. My do not disturb did not work. I'm still getting notifications. So that could be why you're getting gut upset or diarrhea. It could also be the type of carbohydrate that's in them. So a lot of them are made on just maltodextrin. So if I have a look at these, SIS is made on maltodextrin as its first carbohydrate. And what maltodextrin is two glucose molecules joined together. So it's really easily broken apart in the gut to then absorb that quickly into your bloodstream and use it as a fuel source. So a lot of gels are that. There's no other carbohydrate in this one in particular. And then you get into things that have got a bit of fructose in them as well. So things like, I don't think this Ironman flavor does. No, it doesn't. This one does. And this one has some fructose. And so they use a maltodextrin plus fructose. And Performance also uses sucrose, which is one molecule of glucose and one molecule of fructose, which is just like white table sugar. So it's having an understanding of what type of carbohydrates or sugars are in your gels as well. I think that's important because they're not all equal. They are all different. And some people don't necessarily tolerate fructose. So that could be an issue for some people. If you don't digest and absorb and break fructose down that well, that can be causing you problems. So you might want to avoid fructose or use a product that's got a good glucose to fructose ratio. So things like these guys, they have a glucose to fructose ratio of 2:1. And we know that glucose helps to carry fructose across the stomach lining. So that can alleviate symptoms for some people. So they would be two things to look at if they're giving you issues. So a few people sort of said that they use a certain brand because they found that's the one that doesn't cause gut upset for them. So I'd have a look at the brands that you were using and have a look at the combination of sugars in them and see if it's the sugars that are the problem for you. Another question that came through was, can they be mixed with water? So let's take a step back from that question. Something like this SIS one, it says isotonic along the top. And isotonic, my dogs are wrestling downstairs, hopefully you can't hear that. Isotonic means that you don't need it with water. So it's the right concentration to absorb it without needing to drink a whole glass of water with it. There are gels that are isotonic. So SIS is the main one that's available in the supermarkets. The other one that does an isotonic is High Five. It's not this one, but there's another one that does. I can't think of any more off the top of my head. Potentially Morton is the other one that doesn't need necessarily water. I'd have to have a look at that in detail, but it just means that, yeah, it's the right concentration. The number of particles in the solution are not as concentrated as something like this, super thick. So you don't need water with that. Now, because of that, it's quite a big gel. Like if you have a look at the size of this, it's massive compared to, say, a Shots gel. It's 60 mils. So, and this one's 34. So yeah, it's very much bigger. And it's also very liquidy. It's kind of like a jelly sort of consistency. It's a similar consistency to that Morton, the new Morton gel. That's like a jelly sort of matrix. So you don't need to mix this one with water for that reason, but you do need to mix, not at the time, like you don't need to mix it before you consume it, but you do need to dilute these down with water to help with their absorption across the stomach lining. Now you can, if you want to, decant your gels into little gel flasks and then top those flasks up with water so that they are a bit more liquidy. That can be something to play with if you don't like sticky fingers, you know, like having to pull this off and get it out while you're cycling or running. Some people just hate having sticky fingers. And so that's a way to get around that, is to decant it into little flasks before you go. Or you can, mix. I sometimes mix gels in with sports drink for some people just to make it a one-stop shop fueling sort of bottle, knowing that they're also going to drink water to dilute that concentration down as well. All right, my nose is not going to play ball today. It's not that fun to watch. Sorry, guys. So hopefully that answers that question for you, Alex. You should dilute them down with water. You don't necessarily have to mix them with water before you consume them. And some of them don't need to be mixed with water, or you shouldn't mix them with water. So the science behind Morton, it's a weird sort of jelly sort of texture. I don't know how to describe it, but it's a bit of a gel, and it doesn't mix very well with water, and you probably shouldn't mix it with water. I don't think it works as effectively if you try and do that, and then it does weird things. It reacts after a bit of time as well, so it's going to not behave like it was meant to out of the packet if you do mix the Morton one with water. Same as this SAS one. I probably wouldn't recommend mixing that one with water, but all of these other ones you can. Now, in terms of consistency, so some people have a preference for consistency for gels. Some people like them really thick, like Cliff do really thick. Goo are really thick as well, and that could be good if you just want to kind of nibble on it. Like if you take the top off and have some, you can keep running with it in your hand. It's not going to slosh everywhere. But something like the High Five or the SIS, or even probably Performance, it's quite liquidy, so it would be harder to do that. But it's, I guess, goes down easier in one go if you were just wanting to get rid of it. So the gels that you would pick sometimes can purely just be based on consistency of what you like. And then I think the other major factor when picking a gel is that you're picking something that you like. You're picking a flavor that tastes good. You're happy to consume it. You're not likely to consume something or want to consume it if it doesn't taste very good. So one of the biggest challenges is finding a gel flavor that you like. Oh, Emily said, got to run. Cheers. No worries, Emily. I'll see you next time. On Facebook, give me a holler if you're here. There's a few people watching now. So yeah, that should hopefully answer your question, Alex, and give you some other tips around sort of choosing a gel. And then also, I guess, answering the question that came through around, do they need to be taken all at once? And no, they don't. You can definitely have a small amount and then just spread it out. You don't have to have it all in one hit. You can't get them in Australia anymore, but you could get these sponsor gels. You can probably order them online. They were in the UK, but the person that was distributing them through Australia is no longer doing that. But I think these are really cool because they are a little toothpaste cap. So you can take that cap off and then put it back on again. And these are a double gel. So these are actually 50 grams of carbs in a tube. So it's, 2 gels in one hit. And that can be quite good to carry. Like if you like running with something in your hands, they can be quite useful. Or they do stash quite easily too. You know, that's what sports bras are for, right? Stashing gels. Or if you're a guy, stick it in your shorts or down here as well. So you don't need to have it all in one hit. You can definitely spread it out if you've got the ability to do that. So if it's a thicker gel, or if you're putting them into a flask, or you've got something cool like this one where you can replace the cap. What to look for when buying gels was a good question. And I think we've covered a few of those points already. But you want to, I guess, try a lot of different types and find one that you do like. So a good place to start is just to go to a cycling shop or a running shop, or have a look on like Wiggle or Pushies or any of those online stores, and just get a variety of things if you can. Or hit up a mate who's got some and just buy one off them so you can try it without having to buy a whole box, because there's nothing worse than buying a whole box of something and you don't like it and then you're stuck consuming it until it's done. So if you're one of my clients, I have to give you a couple, because I get sort of samples and stuff all the time. So that's one way to try them. Or ask your mate, hit your mate up for just taking one off them and seeing if you like the consistency and the flavor. Some companies will do like a mixed trial pack, so you can get like a small amount for a small amount of money without having to buy a whole box of stuff. So that's a good way to try things. And I guess with gels, how much you have and what you use really depends on your overall plan as well. So you can base your whole plan on gels if you want. I've had 2 Ironman athletes in my time that have done an entire Ironman on just gels, which I think is just crazy, but whatever. It's simple and it was effective, sort of. So you can do that if you want to. I guess I steered them both away from that model. 1, because they were using a shit gel, and 2, like, you're out there all day. You're out there riding for 6 hours, you're running for 4 hours. Like, that's a long time to be having a gel every 20 or 30 minutes. Your mouth is just mank by the end of it. Yeah, Becky said, oh yuck. Yeah, one of these guys did it on the Endura mint gels. I don't know if they make that flavor anymore, but he did his entire Ironman, the entire bike and run, on Endura mint gels, which is, I don't know how he did it. But yeah, it was easy for him to remember. He just had to buy one product and then he was done. But those are actually really low in sodium. So I wouldn't recommend doing your Ironman just on those gels if you weren't adding anything else to it. So I guess what I look for in gels when people come in and they've got gels, I have a look to start with to see how much carbohydrates in them, because they range from 19 grams to 45 grams of carbohydrate. And then what they're made up of. So whether they're just maltodextrin, or if they've got some fructose in them, if they've got some sodium or not, or if there's any other sodium in somebody's plan. And can you hear those dogs wrestling? Hopefully you can't hear it. Stop it, Peachy and Coda. Behave yourself. So carbohydrate content, how much sodium's in them, and then I guess always what's part of an overall plan with your nutrition. So I wouldn't recommend doing a whole Ironman on gels. You could do some longer runs entirely on gels if you wanted to, but I would always have water with you, always, even if you're using isotonic gels. The isotonic gels are unlikely to meet your fluid needs alone, so you're likely to still need water in addition to that. And then Angie Clark, what are you doing? Get off my live. No dietitians. And then potentially sports drink, depending on what sort of event you're doing as well. So have a look at that. They're the things that I would look at when somebody comes in with a product. And I often steer people in the direction of staying with that and then trying some other products, or if they have no idea what they want to use, then I kind of direct people with maybe a brand or a couple of brands to try and see what you like. Like, at the end of the day, you really need to like your nutrition, because you're more likely to consume it. If you don't like it and you think it's like a better one, that doesn't necessarily matter, because if you're less likely to consume it, you're less likely to meet your fueling needs. So a lot of people are divided by those Morton gels. Some people love them and some people just absolutely hate the texture. So just because they're on course or everyone's starting to use them at the moment doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be using them. Definitely try whatever's on course. So if you're doing any Ironman events coming up, you'll need to try them because they're on the courses this year, if we ever get to race again. Nicola calls them snot rockets. That's a good description of their texture. They are very jelly. Yeah, snot rockets. Are you talking about my snot rockets? My sinus infection that won't go away. Yeah, so I guess they were some tips for what you should look for when you're buying them. Just try a whole range of stuff and find something that you like, and then I can work your plan around anything. Like, if there's something missing from your gels, I can add it in another way in a different product. So it doesn't necessarily matter so much. It would only matter if you're looking at relying on gels entirely for your plan, which most people aren't. Then the question came through around how much to have. during events. And I guess, you know, how long is a piece of string? It really depends on what your event is and what your overall nutrition plan is, rather than a set target for gels. And it also depends on who you are and how good you are at fueling. A lot of people just read what's on the packet. So if I read, like, these are really good at marketing. For best results, consume 1 sachet 15 minutes prior to exercise, and then 1 sachet every 30 to 40 minutes during exercise with 150 to 250 mils of water. There you go. They tell you that you need it with water. So I've had a lot of people blindly just follow what's on the packet. So it's 1 every 30 minutes. And so that's what they do, with no sort of thought around what else is going on or what their actual needs are. So I can't answer the question for how much you need, because it's highly, highly individual. It depends on who you are and what your goals are, how good you are at fueling and what you can tolerate, and what your event is as well, like how long are you actually going to be out there for. So like with people that are doing Ironman, say Busso in December, I start now working out what their nutrition plan might look like. And then we sort of try some things and test it out and slowly build their nutrition up over training, so that they're training their gut to absorb more nutrition while they're exercising too. That's really important, because a lot of people just blindly follow carbohydrate intake guidelines with whatever's on the internet and have no sense of awareness of what is actually good for them, and what they can tolerate. So one of the athletes I worked with heading into Cairns, he spent his whole run feeling a bit uncomfortable and then would spew. Like, this is in his race sims. He would spew for an hour after his race sims because he just wasn't tolerating his nutrition. And he was blindly following a set amount of carbohydrate per hour because that's what his training buddy told him to do, and that's what the internet said. But obviously he couldn't tolerate it. So my strategy with him was actually to dial his nutrition right back down and then slowly build him up again, so that your gut can get used to absorbing that nutrition while you're exercising, because your blood is not in your stomach to help with digestion while you're exercising. It's diverted away to your heart and your lungs and your diaphragm, and your working muscles. It's not really trying to help you with the digestion side of things. So you really do need to train your body to deal with taking nutrition while you're exercising, and particularly exercising at higher intensities. So yeah, I can't give you an idea of exactly how much to have and when, because it's super individual. Don't follow what's on a packet. That's pretty much just marketing. Like, it's designed to help you buy more of their products. So if you're like, oh yeah, I've got to have 2 of these an hour and I'm going to run for 4 hours, then I'm going to need this many gels, right? That helps you buy more of their product. It really just depends on what else you're having within that hour, or what your overall nutrition plan is as well. Any questions while I keep yabbering on? If there's any questions, type them in and I'll answer them for you live. Berkey said, I can't afford them. Yeah, the Morton gels are not cheap. They're actually what they used for that original 2-hour marathon, like world record attempt. So they weren't available to consumers back then. That was in what, 2015, 2016? I've lost track of time. They were designed for them to deliver 90 or 100 grams of carbs an hour based on the science of the different transportable carbohydrates. And that's why they've got that texture too. They're trying to do some research around like a gel matrix being absorbed better. So that's why they have that snot rockets texture. But that's where they came from, and that now they've become available to the consumers more widely. They do have sports drink products as well, but I don't think they're that cheap. If you want cheap gels, then probably the most cost effective is these guys, Performance. They're only online, and they often have sales of $1 gels. And so because they're only online, they don't have like big costs for distribution and stuff. So they're only they're very not expensive. The most expensive gels I've ever seen would probably be these ones. I've seen them for like $6 to $8 a gel, the Torque ones. which is, yeah, pretty expensive. So that could be a factor in you deciding on what you use as well, particularly if you're doing more longer stuff like ultra marathons or Ironman or something. You're going to do a long training build, and then your race is quite long, so you might need a fair amount of product. So you might want to choose something that's more cost effective too if you're on a budget. So no questions? Nobody's got any questions? The last question I had come through was a gel that's safe for pregnancy. Now, a lot of these packets will say not safe for children under, I think it's 12 years or 15 years or something, and then also not safe for use during pregnancy. Let me see if I can find one. Yeah, this one says not suitable for children under 15 years of age or pregnant women, should only be used under medical or dietetic supervision. So I'm not going to give you any advice on that on this forum. I think if you're pregnant and you're looking at using sports products, then you should go and see a sports dietitian. There's certainly other options to gels if you're needing to fuel during exercise. Like, you don't necessarily have to use gels, so it depends on what you're doing and what you need it for. And then if you are using gels, then yeah, I'm not going to answer that on here. That's too dangerous. You need some individualized advice if you're pregnant and trying to use products like this, because a lot of them will have warnings or something on the label, because they can't really do tests or studies on pregnant women. They can't give them something that could be a problem and they go, here you go, let's see what happens. So a lot of stuff like this, it may be okay, but it's hard to do research on pregnant women because it doesn't get past ethics. Ara Jane Redding said, I've just learned so much about gels. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. It's a big minefield of information, I guess, and it's something that I work in, day out. So I can tell you exactly how much carbohydrate is in every single one of these gels off the top of my head. It's like my superpower, but I'm not really sure if that's such a cool skill. But there's lots of products coming on the market all the time too. So it's just, yeah, staying across that, but they all are similar-ish, but are different as well. All right, choose. Libby has said, I choose better for women rather than gels. Good question, Libby. So choose, like, I don't have any here, like Goo Chomps and Cliff Bloks and Winners do choose, and who else does choose? Power Bar do Gel Blast. There's quite a number of like sports lollies. They are basically like a gel, Libby, but hard little sports lollies. So neither is better than the other for women. It doesn't really matter if you're using blocks or chews versus gels, whether you're male or female. It really just depends on what your overall nutrition plan is. So a lot of people are kind of gravitating towards blocks and chews and stuff because you can kind of just have one. So one block is usually around sort of 8 grams of carbs, whereas a gel is sort of 20 to 30. So they're much easier to sort of spread out in little bits across time. But it's the practicalities of, can you carry it and can you chew it while you're running? I don't think I could chew one while running at the moment because I can't breathe through my nose. So just some ideas around, or some thoughts around the practicalities of using them. But I wouldn't say that they're better for women or worse for women. It really just depends on what your overall plan is. Oops. Berkey said, my goal is to use as few as possible. Yeah, so I have definitely seen a movement from people away from gels over the last sort of 5 years. And people are starting to play around with more real food options as well, I'm finding, which is good, which is why I actually designed that Fuel Your Adventure book. I created a little recipe book that's got some real food, sports nutrition products in it. I don't have one here, but it is on my website on the recipes tab right down the bottom. If you wanted to have a look at that, and that includes lots of little energy balls and bars and some savory options as well if you wanted to start making some of your sports nutrition products yourself. Oh, Libby said I tried chews, but it was awkward. My hot tip for chews, Libby, is to bite it in half with your front teeth and chipmunk either half. So you've got half on this cheek, half on this cheek, and kind of just leave it in your cheek pocket. So it's outside your teeth. Rather than trying to have to chew it and breathe and exercise, you can kind of just leave it here and let it dissolve a little bit, because carbohydrate starts breaking down in your mouth. So your saliva can start to do some of that work for you. And that might help because they can be quite sizable. Like some of those things are quite big. So don't feel like you've got to swallow it like a tablet or a pill. And also don't feel like you've got to chew it till it's gone. You can kind of just bite it in half, chipmunk it. That's a technical term. And then leave it in your mouth for a while so that you can run and breathe while it sort of works its way into being digested. All right, Andrea said, thank you. You're welcome. Berkey said, Winners make a good raspberry chew. There you go. I've actually not tried the Winners chews. I've tried on so many products, but I've never actually tried the Winners one. So they might be relatively cost effective too, Berkey, because you could just get those from the supermarket. Penny said, is that where I find your recipe for your famous Vegemite sandwiches? I'm in Dan joke. Yes, that is where you can find the recipe for my secret Vegemite sandwiches. They are not just a simple sandwich. You've got to get the Fuel Your Adventure book or come and see me to find out what that secret is. Secret. Although most of my clients know what it is, but yes. Libby said, thank you. You're welcome. All right, guys, if there's no other questions, I might jump off and blow my nose if I can. Beautiful, full of class here. Hopefully I can talk for next week, but I hope that's helped give you some insight into gels. It was a pretty fun discussion. Maybe we'll talk something about like chews or bars or something another time, but I guess not all gels are created equal. The carbohydrate content varies so widely from 19 grams up to 45 grams of carbs per gel. So it's really about finding something that you like and forms part of your overall nutrition plan as well. Penny said, thanks, legend. You're welcome. And Nicola gave me a fist pump. Yeah. All right, guys, I might jump off that if there's no other questions, but thanks for joining me. I'll send out the replay a bit later. And if you do want cycling kit, please send me an email, send me a DM. This is your last chance. I've just got to hit send on the email with all the orders. So final call for custom dietitian approved cycling kit, cost price. And Berkey, if you want another set, this is your opportunity. All right, Berkey said, cheers. I'll sign off now, but thanks for joining me, guys, and I'll see you next week.